Hey everyone, in today's video, I've got a bad cold, but that's okay because this thing is finally coming out of the garage. So in the last video, we got the independent rear suspension back in the car, but now we gotta get this thing out of here so we can pull the front suspension out because there's no room to work on it right here, and we got some cleaning to do. This turned into kind of a cardboard box repository after it was put away in November last year, so let's get this taken care of. Let's get this thing outside so we can actually work on it. There she be, still there, just how I left it. I'm about to have some helpers come out and control some wheel chocks and make sure that the car doesn't roll off with me inside of it if the parking brake doesn't work.
I'm using my leg. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, she works. Yeah, she does. Alright. Yeah. I haven't seen this in a long time. She's pretty. It's a pretty car. Yeah, I think the back end's a little bit higher with those new shocks, baby. Not a terrible thing. Okay, next step is taking the engine out. Alright, thanks for the help, neighbor.
You're welcome.
We've got this thing on the ground again. So that means this guy can come right out. Some progress has been made. I've got the caliper basically loose, ready to come out. On the other side, it's already out, actually. Two big massive bolts, they're kind of awkward to get to, but one is long, the other is short. Pads are out. Those come out with, you know, your pins and your cotter pins. The ABS sensor, I took it out through the hole right there, and this will just kind of dangle with the subframe while it's out. Besides, it gives me an opportunity to kind of go over this insulation, fix it up a little bit if necessary. Well, it is necessary. Brake lines. I went through a lot of trouble just getting this undone on the other side, kind of fighting against the running brake fluid. So for this one, I got kind of quick and just cut it immediately with these guys. Then took some vice grips and just clamped down the thing real hard. Removed the coily boy there. And now this just kind of hangs out there and stays like that. So we don't lose all the brake fluid and we have to have a really painful bleeding process later, so that's good. Sway bar links disconnected, shock absorbers disconnected, and I left my cut ends right here, so I have the hardware when I'm ready to replace the hard lines. A fun thing, this is where your brake line goes, right here and right there. Like, imagine doing that with the V12 in here. Imagine if you had to replace that flex line and the V12 was in here. That'd be terrible. I would not want that. Yeah, like I said, these are loose. I think all I have to do really now is just disconnect the steering shaft so the steering rack can come out with this, because I'll be redoing the bushings on those. And then over here you can see calipers out. I have the brake line plugged this way on this one, and again, ABS sensor. So quite close. I think it's about time for it to come out. Well, it is out, but this fancy jack I'm using still a little too high. I need to take out one shock so I can get it out sideways, and then I'll be able to get it out. That last little bit of work I was doing was on the steering thing. This guy didn't want to let go just yet, but you know, we've got the thing out basically, so that's pretty cool. I'll work on getting one shock out, and then I can get this thing in the garage. Okay, it's in. Now I just gotta, I don't know, get those guys done, get these guys done. There's one there. Whew. Gotta get those out. It's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the least in this project. Changing these springs, but it's got to happen, unfortunately, because it sits too dang high right now. Probably paint stuff. If this is in bad shape up there, we'll have to do some work, but it looks okay. I don't know, we'll find out when we flip this over. What else? Yeah, good stuff. I'm tired. I am tired. So, off camera, I took care of these bushings right here. Super easy, just loosen that and then tighten it again. And then these guys here, they go under the car. I got those taken care of also. So, the big elephant in the room here is these. And unfortunately, it's time to get them off. I'm a little scared, but I have to do it. I think I'm gonna try and flip this over somehow and then start taking out the screws with my threaded rods. I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. Got it flipped. Basically just kind of moved it along this thing and then picked it up by the power steering rack. Got it sitting on these guys and then slowly lowered it until it was sitting on the upper control arm thingies. Not too bad, kind of heavy. It was a little scary, so you gotta be careful. So here's how this is gonna work. I don't have the fancy tool thingy that goes in the middle, and you know, you can, that's the right way to do it. You stick something through there, get it out more carefully that way, but I saw this on YouTube, believe it or not. You take some threaded rod. I bought this on McMaster-Carr. I made sure it was the high strength stuff, so like the strongest stuff you can buy on there. This is 3/8 24 thread. So bought 4 of them. And then I went to Lowe's and I got some nuts. And I'm gonna double nut these 2 up here so I can hold on to it with the socket wrench. Pretend there's a socket there. And then the way you get it off is all 4 of these, once they're installed, you just kind of slowly do that, you know. This one's coming off easy because, you know, everything else is still fastened, but, you know, so that's the plan here. That is how these guys are going to come out. So I guess I'll just do a time lapse. If it explodes, I'll get it on video, and hopefully it doesn't explode in my face and ruin my skull, because then yeah, bad. Yeah, so take a look in here, everyone. This is something I was really concerned about, and something I've read about quite a bit with these cars is, you know, they get pretty bad in here and it can be terminal. you can ruin the entire front subframe. And this looks pretty good. There's pretty solid metal in here. It's definitely salvageable, and I hope the other one is the same way. So, got ourselves a solid car here. So, right when I thought things were going well, this happened. And that one's not out yet. So, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do about that. Alright, so here we are. Tried the weld a nut thing and it didn't work, so this is the scary thing I'm doing. See, I've got these guys in still, so I figure it's gonna bow up a little bit, but it's not gonna go anywhere because I'd have to break through all 4 of these, and it's just not gonna happen. So I'm working on taking this one out. It might shoot up, not quite sure yet, but once this is out, I can get the threaded rod in, and then I think I can do just one on this side. That's kind of what I was doing over there. I was mostly just like using the middle ones to let it get up, and then just kind of loosening the outside ones with my fingers. So I think I can get away with that here once again. Famous last words? I guess we'll see. Here's where we're at with this. So you've got 3 bolts that hold the steering rack in place. You've got one that goes through here, and then you've got 2 over on this side. This is what I found on the car, double nutted. That's not right, but there was one which appears to be original. You've got a nylon lock nut, but this one, the threads are pretty nasty, and I think I'm just going to buy 3 new ones. Also, I need to buy a new bolt for the spring, and I need to get that out with my welder or something. So, what I did, like any good engineer, is went on McMaster car and decided to get stuff. Got lock nuts for the steering rack, bolts for the steering rack, bolts for the springs, and new lock washers too. My caliper needs a new battery, and then these are going to be for the engine mounts actually, because the kit I paid a bunch of money for didn't come with any bolts to actually mount the engine to the mounts for some reason. And a lot of this stuff is fine thread. You're not going to find it at Lowe's or Home Depot very easily, and you'll still be paying a bunch of money anyways. Might as well just spend the money on McMaster car, and you'll get exactly what you need. You'll know what grade you're getting and stuff too. Yeah, I think these are originally grade 5. I stepped it up to grade 8 because why the hell not? And also, I had to buy a higher quantity of grade 5s, which was going to make it more expensive anyways. So grade 8 is actually cheaper in this situation. So this needs to be cleaned up with the wire brush, I think, on the angle grinder, and painted. Same with right here, and this one will get some new paint as well. I just had the welder out to fix one of my tomato cages for my garden, so I think while I've got it set up, I'm going to try to get these 2 out, because there's a bracket that needs to go there so I can mount the shift cable for the transmission. Still have not been successful getting a broken screw out of stuff by welding a nut on, so. There you go. It really helps when you're working on an aluminum case and a steel fastener, because you know you're not going to weld to the thing you're fastening to. See if we can get the one out of this aluminum control arm. This sucks. And of course I didn't get the one successful attempt on camera, but there it is, finally. What I ended up doing was, when I drilled it out, I was able to get a nice solid weld in that hole that I drilled and what remained of that bolt. And then I was able to actually weld onto some good metal and get a strong enough grip with that large nut right there to back that thing out with the impact. So, gosh, that took forever. Boy, look at all that junk. Good thing I've got this guy. So now that it's been cleaned-ish, I will go over the bare metal parts with some degreaser, some metal prep, and then we'll just paint over the spots where it's needed, like, you know, all up inside of here. I already did a little bit of acid stuff on this one, which is why it looks so shiny. I got some in here too, but like, you know, this stuff, once I hit it with the acid, all the rust will go away. And then we can put some black POR 15 where it's needed. And that's about all I'm going to do to this thing. Obviously the proper thing to do would be to strip it of all hardware, take the actual cross member to, say, Mountaintop powder coating in Belfont, but I'm on a bit of a timeline. I don't really want to do that, and honestly, this thing's in relatively solid condition. There's not too much of a need for that, in my opinion. Painting over the spots where the powder coat is failing is going to be just fine, in my opinion. Okay, it's been a little bit since I've given an update because it's mostly been pretty boring stuff, you know. I don't really need to show myself painting the cross member, but I did use POR 15 and I treated it before I painted it. And the other thing we have here is new springs. So, you know, the V8 is going to be a lot lighter weight than the V12, so in order to make sure the car's not sitting way too high, you take some springs and just kind of shorten them, and that's how you do that. Obviously painted over where I worked, and then they'll just kind of go in place of the old ones, which are, you know, really gross. So regardless, it's a good thing this thing is getting new springs. So I guess I'll go right back here and start on this one, see if we can get in without too much trouble. Wasn't too bad. A little easier than getting it out, I think. Also less scary. I'm a little more comfortable with my makeshift tools. So I guess I'll move on to the next one. Yeah, I thought this perch was in better shape than it actually is. The one over there did not need any paint. I thought it was in pretty good shape, but this one not so much. I think I will paint it to prevent any further nasty things we don't want happening here. It's nice and painted under there, so it won't rust anymore. Now it's time to bolt it down. And there you have it. New springs installed. So I guess the next step would be to, well, put it back in there. But it's getting dark. That's a tomorrow problem. Oh, it's a beautiful day. Not a cloud in sight. It's the first day I've had to put sunscreen on before I start working. This is how I've been holding the car cover up with the absence of a hood. This step ladder right here. So since it's so nice out, and it's going to be a lot easier to do this with the front end not in the car, this needs to be cleaned, obviously. A lot of junk inside of here. And also need to really take note of what all of these connectors are, what all these pipes are, and label them. So I think that's what I'm going to start my day with today. Here's a quick one I wanted to take care of. It's pretty dirty in there. Definitely worth a nice vacuuming, which I've taken care of in here. Just want to get all the big solids out before I start working with water to really clean this thing up. Yeah, it's kind of neat. This thing just comes out with 4 bolts. There's 2 tiny ones that go on these guys right here. I didn't quite realize that those were what they were until I looked at the workshop manual. I was trying to remove the big things that hold the wiper arms on, but that was not the right thing to do. I'll probably lube all of this while it's out too. That'll help preserve the life of everything, because you're not finding this part anymore, that's for dang sure. Here's why you gotta clean this. You know, one, you look in there and it's like actually red now, the color of the car. But also you've got your 2 drain pipes that are in here. And they're in the corners right there and there. I've got it hooked up right here. You know, these had all kinds of nasty stuff in them for me. And you don't want that. They actually drain into the fender when they're actually hooked up. I just have them going to the center for now. I mean, you can see there's junk down there that's not getting washed away. Yeah, so also the T for the washer fluid completely disintegrated as I was taking this apart. So luckily I had some around. I did not have a right angle T here though. That totally disintegrated. It looked like that one over there for the driver's side jet, but you know, that one's about to disintegrate as well. I'm just gonna not touch it for now, and hopefully having this bend here isn't gonna be, you know, terminal for the washer fluid operation. Time to move inside of here now. Okay, just got a little sidetracked today, but not anything terrible. As you can see, it's a little bit cleaner. Went in there with the scrubber brush and some dish soap. Got a little bit more work to do over here. I just got this thing removed so I can get underneath it. Also removed the old heater valve. I think that's what that thing is. I took that out. It went to the heater core hoses. We'll probably use something different. Then I got the expansion valve loose. So now that I can replace the expansion valve, since I got all those nuts loose, it'll be great. Because I wanted to get that loose before I put the engine back, because as you can see, that one is kind of hard to get to in the back there. It's 7/8. You can do it as long as you're holding on to the expansion valve with an adjustable wrench. So I did that. Also flushed out the heater core, ran the garden hose through it for a minute, got all the nasty stuff out of there, and then I poured some 50/50 green antifreeze inside of there, and I have that sitting there so we don't get corrosion issues from the garden hose water, since it's not distilled water. But other than that, this is the one thing that came up that I'm really unhappy about. I wasn't going to do anything about this. What happens here is you've got two pieces of steel. You've got one right there. I think I'll show you on the other side. You can see that piece of steel right there with the ribs in it. That holds your shock absorber. So this is your shock tower, if you will. Jaguar was stupid and didn't properly seal this, so what was happening is the metal was basically bubbling up, separating from this, and it was all nasty and rusty inside. And over here, similar story, but it happened a little bit lower. I'm not a bodywork expert, but I do have a welder and I have paint, so I'm just gonna fix that the best I can. This isn't terrible, you know, like this is not your structure really, it's this piece that's the structure, and it's the fact that it's attached to the body of the vehicle. But down here, a little bit more sketchy. Yeah, also took the sway bar out. I figure I might as well paint this because, you know, it's not great. Paint's coming off. Looks kind of funny with the doors open and no front wheels. The only thing keeping me from putting the subframe in is I want to paint these guys because they go on the big bolts there. And then once I do that, I think I can put it in. Alright, got these wrapped in electrical tape. That should help them stay a little better. Not too much, but a little bit. And then I've got these guys bolted down. Also have this thing strapped down and got out these bracket thingies that this lift came with, so, or jack. Okay, I think it's time to put it back in. Okay, so I got it in. I kind of started these guys first, used the tilt function on the jack here. Then I was able to get these two bolts in, or nuts, but not until I got the steering shaft back in. It only goes in one way because there's a little cut in the spline shaft for your bolt to go through, so it's additional locking power. The only thing I couldn't do was I couldn't get this washer, and that goes between the frame and the subframe bushing. So what I'll need to do is loosen this one, which is just, you know, that big nut, or that big bolt right there with the nut on the back, and then kind of slide the bushing inside a little bit so I'm able to get the washer inside of there, because you see it's just too tight. I cannot get it in like that. But maybe that I feel a little more comfortable. I'll try a pry bar. I don't know. I'll see what happens. Here it is, everyone. We are back on the ground. This is our new height without engine stuff in after the spring cutting. Subframe is in. Got the brake lines hooked up. Got the shocks back in. All that fun stuff. I'm just going to kind of leave this one here because I know it's getting a little bit lengthy in the editing. And really the only thing that's going on is typical XJS stuff. You know, back here we've got all the brake line plumbing and stuff. ABS sensors back in. I just wrapped that in electrical tape from that failing insulation. Changing the brake lines wasn't too hard. You just gotta be a little bit diligent about it so you don't lose too much fluid. Next up is gonna be bleeding the brakes, which, you know, Living with a Classic, that's a good channel you can go to. He's got a good video on bleeding the brakes on actually this very kind of car, because this is maintaining the Tevis 3. This uses an accumulator for the brake pressure, not a vacuum booster. So this is actually an electric pump and accumulator which builds pressure inside, and then that goes to your assist here, and that actually controls your brakes, in addition to a little bit of mechanical brake for the front brakes. But in the rear brakes, that is entirely driven off of this thing. The more you know. So yeah, thanks for watching. Next videos are going to be about wiring, which I'm pretty excited about. That'll be interesting and useful for anybody who wants to do an L swap in general, and especially for people wanting to put a truck harness into an XJS, because I think it's going to be pretty involved, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Okay, I will see you in the next one.